I was never alone. Early on, I felt the low hum of speech resonating in the back of my skull, spreading to my frontal lobe, and I wrapped that voice in the felt strips that textured my brain with until I gave that slowly articulating audibility a form that was my closest friend. I was never alone. It was the one constant in my life beyond my mother's love. Tests were easy, Magna Carta. Boring classroom lectures would turn into marathon game sessions, tic-tac-toe, 3 in a row. And whenever my sleepless mind would race at breakneck speeds, I knew I'd have someone who would stay up late and watch TV with me. Friday after dark, I love Skinamax. And then I met her. Who is that? She was beauty and madness like a slice of same soul. I let her bind me in circles that from a distance looked like traced paper hearts, but upon closer inspection were merely shackles. She turned love into marathon game session, always taking center square. She tried to take my freedom from me with a falsified restraining order. She dangled taunting outside of her car window as she drove circles around me. She tried to turn everyone against me. Kill her. Everyone. Peel back her eyelids. I was trapped with a deafening roar. Even in the silence of church pews, with increasing volume, she shouldn't live, in varying pitch, and neither should you. Till my brain went numb from the humming, and I walked into the kitchen, towards the knife block. Slice it, pulling out the fattest blade, first her throat, then yours, catching in at the reflection of my eyes. Eyes I shared with my mother. Eyes that she alone would own to bear witness to this carnage. Forget her. And together, we shed tears inside fat metal. I put the blade back in its wooden sheath. No, got into my car, the knife, checked myself into the hospital. They can't help you, and silenced the skull speakers with chemical mufflers that left the rest of the world covered in safe felt strips. I'm not used to being in my brain alone. It's so quiet. But I can respect the concept of living life in perfect, well-formed grids that I can't help but want to draw X's and O's inside of, with moves divined by whispers that are barely, frighteningly audible. 3 in a row.
Art's all about perception, and it's like, here's what I deal with on a day-to-day basis, and I'm going to turn it into something beautiful instead of being swallowed up in my own misery. I'm gonna make something out of it, you know. And it's a form of creation. It's a beautiful thing. It really is. It's this natural surge that just says, I am human, and it's a way to completely feel human again. And I mean, I think we get desensitized a lot of the time in this world to not feel human, and we have our TVs, we have our shows, we have everything else telling us how to feel, and you know, no matter what you're going on, you can just go home and turn on the TV or whatever, and you can just kind of be numb to everything. But then there's other people in the world who don't agree with that, who question that and say, I do want to feel.
When Jesus went to the land of Gerasenes, he came upon a possessed man who lived in tombs.
What do you want from me, Son of God?
Broken chains still fastened to his limbs, Jesus had commanded the spirit to come out of the man.
I beg you, don't torture me.
When Jesus asked him his name, he replied,
My name is Legion, for we are many.
The demons swelled inside him. The Son of God riddled them with fear. They saw a herd of swine and begged him,
Send us among the pigs. Allow us to go into them.
All 2,000 pigs, each infested with twisted spirits, ran themselves into the sea, drowned. My family has a long history of mental illness. My brother is bipolar schizophrenic. My mom has dissociative identity disorder, which means she has multiple personalities. And sometimes when I'm talking to her, and it hasn't happened in a long time, she doesn't remember our conversations because it's not the same person that I'm talking to. And I have to recognize certain aspects of her personality that come out that she one time, a very, very nurturing mother, And the other time she is this rebellious teenager, and where you'd figure those were just different aspects of the same person. These are genuinely different people. And there's a certain sensitivity that you have to that, to say, why can't you remember this? Why don't you understand this conversation that we had? I thought we were all on the same page. You have to reiterate it and reiterate it and reiterate it to make sure that you're on common ground when you start a conversation.
I never said that.
You were a room full of people where nobody talked to each other, a perfect symbol for our family.
Ungrateful little shit.
Yeah, I keep trying to forge a chain with my heart, bind you into one person, but you keep breaking it.
I'm sure you just lost your necklace.
I am no son of God. I keep trying to track down the divine spark you bless me with.
What do you want from me, son?
I want to know the axes that split you, find the dark woodshed you keep them in, unlock the door and gather them in my arms along with you.
I beg you, don't torture me.
I'll bring my whole life on stage because it's something that I am. My character is me. I'm a thin veil in front of this person when I'm going out on stage. I am no son of God. I am only your son, Mom. My faith is so much smaller, but the chains I keep mending still have some semblance of strength. Mother.
I am Mother.
I still love you.
For we are many.
And one day, I will find you standing inside your crowd, end the Where's Waldo game your shifting brainscape plays with me, show you how powerful you truly are, convince you that I'll never let you be alone.
As far as it being therapeutic for anybody with mental illness, I definitely think so. Most of the poets that I know have some kind of mental illness or are just a little bit off. I think that in order to be an artist, you're kind of what most people would call a little crazy.
I don't think that there's ever been an artist in the history of humankind that has not suffered any sort of mental pain. I don't think there's a human that hasn't. I think that it is a complete muse for many people, for many artists, or especially poets. Poets seem to be plagued with it. And it's a very common thing, and it's Taoistic in this way, that you take something so dark and so opposing to human nature, and you turn it into this lightness, and you turn it into, I mean, even if it's a dark poem, there's still this there's this surge of hope that I've taken something that ails me so much, and I have turned it into a blessing.
When I take something that, once again, is like a part of me and put that down on paper and then read it to a bunch of strangers, regardless of what the outcome may be, it's very therapeutic.
It depends your take on it, because it did give me something to do, but at the same time, it wasn't like some placebo, or it didn't help any. As far as like poetry and writing down my emotions, it did a lot for me because I was able to express myself, but it didn't change what I was feeling. Matter of fact, it almost made it worse in some cases because I dwell on it. Because if you're writing a sad poem, like after you read it and work on it, all you feel is sad. It's not like you write a sad poem and you're like, I'm so happy now.
Best peanut butter and banana sandwich I will ever have!
They couldn't tell me why two of my best friends in the world were going to hell just because they don't like girls.
Rock on, dude! If I could, I would have fallen from the sky for you. Been a shooting star for you. I know there were days when you just needed a wish.
There's no light. Just the flap and crack of wings.
And no louder than an atomic red button bomb. A red button bomb. A red button bomb.
I knew this girl who did a workshop at a rehab center. She did slam poetry and she taught them to do it, and then she brought them out to a slam and they all did their stuff, and I'm sitting here listening to teenagers who are sex addicts, who are meth addicts, who are all these things that, you know, they are obviously not mature enough to be dealing with, and at the same time, like, when you watch them on stage just get that out of them, it's a really interesting transition from who they were when they got on stage and who they are when they get off stage.
Really, any artistic expression, to take those feelings out and take them out of you, no matter how you do it, is therapeutic. And so I absolutely think that people with mental illnesses should take a writing course before they take a pill.
The reason I would keep writing was because I loved writing. It's something I've always loved doing, and I love to express myself. And I did end up with a few really good pieces that I loved to work on and loved to perform and share with people. And then Sometimes I wouldn't write though. Sometimes I'd be like, wow, this is really pointless. I should just do what depressed people do.
When I am really, really upset or really, really depressed, I don't really overcome it until I write a poem about it. I'll write in a little bit, and I usually tend to smoke a lot of cigarettes, and but once I've actually taken a poem or written a poem and gotten everything out that is going through me, it's almost like a physical release. Like I feel so much better.
They say mouths are one of the most sensitive organs in the body. When you feel my weight in yours, you better believe it. When you multiply the magnitude of the sweat, breaths, and compounded stress, waiting to explode to where the wave crests. As far as how it affected me and my depression, it was positive and it was negative because it helped me in certain ways. It let me express myself. It let me learn how to write better. It let me have something cool to show to friends sometimes, or something creepy because it's sad poetry. Or it made things worse because I just dwell on it. I wasn't really doing anything productive because it was like writing emails and working on a poem when I was supposed to be doing chemistry homework. So it in fact probably made my life a little harder at the time. I'd spend whole days, being nice to people, loving people, being optimistic as ever, and then I'd just get home, and at the end of the day I'd be like, wow, I feel like shit. That didn't help at all. So if you want it, what you're waiting for, darling, bring it on, and let's start making some poetry and porn.
As far as what it is to me, it's cathartic. It's a way of purging. It's a way of expressing in a way that not everybody can do it.
There's a total link between illness or dis-ease or instability with art. I mean, that's what it's about. It's about perception.
So why not put something out there that means something to me, that I would identify with, and maybe there's somebody else that would identify with it.
Well, I wouldn't be alive if I didn't write, and that's the honest to God truth. And I do it as a form of survival. Writing's a way for me to get in touch with what I've experienced, with who I've met, with everything that I've ever done, and make sense of it all. It's more so of, here's a way for me to make sense out of everything else.
An escape, definitely. Any art can be used as an escape. Like writing down, I'd use it as escape, but at the end of the day, do escapes really help depression?
Those who were born at the right hand of God were praised with faces and expensive sport coat skin. Those born at the left were banished with empty leg bed eye sockets for drinking in the world's problems. Aerosol spray paint can throats to inscribe the graffiti of language on the back alley brick wall maze of human imagination.
My face is flooded like window glass. I am full of rain and the track marks it leaves behind. 1 year ago from June, there was a flood I had been dreaming. There were redwood logs falling down the mountaintops that we were dodging. The smoke above in the hilltops, fire was everywhere. Ash was falling, and even the mountain lions were running down it with us.
My balance isn't so great, so stepping back is my stupid human trick. I do this effortlessly. Call me passive, but time moves through withdrawal with my breath, a complacent distraction. Why am I not mad anymore?
And those without faces walk amongst those with, like shadows that got sick of being shadows, so they stood up. And now they're all silhouettes. And yo, we are all silhouettes without faces. And this one is for the faceless. This one's for the thinkers who view the world through empty leg bed eye sockets, shedding dream catcher tears for catching the world's forgotten dreams that live on the insides of our skulls like stars in the night sky. This one's for the writers who carry expression brand language spray paint in their brains like backpacks, painting brightly colored, perfectly detailed words on imagination walls. And one day, y'all, I promise, we're gonna fucking paint them all.
As children, our bodies would have been full of milk and whiskey to help us sleep. As children, our sleep would have been like two barn owls feeding their young. As children, our dreams would have been awake.
I just need to show someone this mess of choices that I built. These are the ropes tied around my esophagus, holding my eggshell tongue in place in this stupid mess that I built, and I don't need y'all to live with me in it. Just visit me here. Help me start a fire so I can rise like a stupid phoenix from the ashes.
And no, you can't define this world. It is this world which defines you. And the world is only of one mind, pulling you into the breath of its universe, drawing you closer to death. Understand that when I say I love you, I can only mean that I am you. That my body recognizes itself, ready and willing to merge, so eager for death.
This one's for the artists who rip their hearts out of their chests and trace on blank canvases the stories tattooed there of good times and bad times, because this art is what keeps us alive. This art is what keeps us sane. This art is what keeps my tattooed heart beating. This art, thank God, is me.